High on the slopes of Kholat Sayak, a mountain in the northern Urals, a search party made a chilling discovery. Scattered across the frozen terrain were the bodies of 9 missing hikers. Look closely at this historical photograph of their campsite. Rescuers found the group's tent partially buried in the snow inside. Following the footprints down the mountain, searchers found the victims wearing only their socks and underwear. After a brief inquiry, the 1959 Soviet criminal investigation abruptly closed the case. The official conclusion stated simply that the hikers died due to a compelling natural force, and the files were quickly classified. The ambient temperature that night had plummeted below -25 degrees Celsius. Human instinct in that environment is to huddle for warmth. Yet these 9 individuals actively destroyed their only shelter to flee into a deadly blizzard. These victims were highly capable individuals. Led by 23-year-old engineering student Igor Dyatlov, this photograph shows the group in their element. They were seasoned mountaineers and survivalists, fully certified for complex winter expeditions. Originally, there were 10 members. Yuri Yudin was forced to turn back a few days into the trek due to a severe sciatica flare-up. His early departure locked in the exact timeline of the remaining group's final days alive. These hikers knew exactly how to survive in extreme alpine conditions. Panic of this magnitude, resulting in an immediate, disorganized evacuation, signals a threat so immediate and lethal that staying inside the tent meant certain death. Months later, the spring thaw revealed the remaining 4 bodies at the bottom of a nearby ravine, inside a makeshift snow den. Their injuries were grotesque. 2 victims were missing their eyes, 1 was missing her tongue, and 2 others had their chests completely crushed. The medical examiner compared the chest trauma to the blunt force of a high-speed car crash, yet the skin was completely unbroken. There were no bruises or external soft tissue damage, only massive, catastrophic internal bone fractures. Classified files later revealed that investigators detected unusually high levels of beta radiation on the victim's clothing. The massive trauma with no bruising, radioactive clothing, and sudden flight created an evidentiary vacuum. In the following decades, this void was filled with supernatural folklore and government conspiracy theories. The Soviet government's immediate decision to classify the files fueled public suspicion. This was amplified by reports from local meteorologists and military personnel who claimed to have seen glowing orange spheres hovering in the night sky above the mountains that February. This led to the dominant technogenic theory, a covert military disaster. Proponents argue the Soviet military was testing an R-12 liquid propellant ballistic missile. In this scenario, a failed launch blanketed the mountainside in a corrosive, suffocating nitric acid fog, forcing the hikers to slash their tent to breathe. However, declassified Ministry of Defense records show the only R-12 launch that day took place 1,500 kilometers away in Kazakhstan. Furthermore, search parties found no craters, no metal scrap, or chemical residue near the campsite. While secret weapons offer a compelling story, they fail to explain the localized physics. A toxic gas cloud or a distant explosion does not neatly crush a human ribcage while leaving the surrounding skin perfectly intact. The radiation detected at the site traces back to the 1957 Kishtim disaster, a nuclear accident at a Soviet plutonium plant 2 years prior. One of the hikers had worked on the radioactive cleanup, carrying residual particles on his clothing. The state of undress is a known medical phenomenon called paradoxical undressing. In the final stages of hypothermia, the brain's hypothalamus misfires, causing the victim to perceive extreme burning heat. In response to this false signal, the panicked victims tear off their winter clothes to cool down, even while they are actually freezing to death. We see exactly this pattern in the 1993 Kamar-Daban incident, where another group of Russian hikers was caught in a severe freezing rainstorm. Survivors reported their hypothermic companions suddenly panicking, violently tearing at their own clothes, and bleeding from the mouth before collapsing. The Dyatlov group's behavior aligns tightly with the documented breakdown of human biology under extreme cold stress. They were experiencing the terrifying neurological collapse of late-stage hypothermia. We still need to account for the crushed chests and the initial catalyst that forced them out of the tent. In 2021, a team from ETH Zurich used advanced fluid dynamics and snow friction models to reconstruct the exact physics of that night. This diagram shows their fatal setup, a vertical cut into the snowpack. Overnight, winds piled a heavy snow slab above the tent. A solid ice block detached, impacting the tent and crushing their rib cages, leaving the skin perfectly intact. Trapped under the crushing weight of heavy ice and rapidly suffocating, the desperate, uninjured survivors violently slashed the tent open from the inside. In pitch darkness and howling winds, they pulled their mortally wounded friends from the wreckage and attempted a desperate evacuation into the tree line. The Dyatlov Pass wasn't a paranormal event, but a tragic collision of elements. A rare combination of topological physics, severe winter weather, and a single snow cut violently intersected with the fragile limits of human survival.